I spent months secretly building my dream nursery. When I unveiled it, my wife burst into laughter. "This is hilarious. We're not keeping the baby." Her family clapped. I just smiled. 6 weeks later, she was screaming outside a courtroom with 38 missed calls on my phone. It started with blue paint under my fingernails and a creaky floorboard I was determined to fix before winter. My wife, Callie, 34F, had always hated that room. The tiny upstairs study that got too much light in the morning and not enough in the evening. We used to call it the maybe room. Maybe we'd turn it into a library. Maybe a meditation space. Maybe a nursery. Back in October, she mentioned the idea offhand. We were lying on the couch, her legs across my lap, half watching a documentary about rural hospitals. She said, "If we ever have a kid, I'd want a forest theme. Owls and ferns and those big plush animals from Pottery Barn Kids." She said it like someone tossing a stone into a still lake. No splash, just ripples. That was the night I started planning. I, 36M, am a contractor. Nothing fancy, residential jobs, mostly. But I know how to work a sander, how to level floors, how to hide outlets behind hand-carved trim. I also know how to keep secrets. Callie had been off for months, distracted, tired all the time, always at her mom's place or helping out her younger sister who still hadn't figured out how to parent her twins without calling for backup. But I didn't think much of it. We were both busy, and I figured the nursery, this one gift, this one surprise, could be a way to reconnect us. So, while she was running errands or gone for long weekends with her family, I got to work. New subfloor, crown molding, pale sage walls soft as eucalyptus. I found a crib that matched the one from the documentary, drove 90 miles to pick it up secondhand. I refinished it myself. There were hand-painted mushrooms along the bottom slats. I built a mobile from driftwood I collected near Lake Erie and tied tiny plush foxes to the strings. I even installed blackout curtains and soundproofed the walls. I wanted it to be perfect. The whole thing took me 2 months of sneaking, sanding, painting, hoping. I finished it the week before Christmas. Wrapped the doorknob in a white satin bow. Left her a little card on the hallway table. "For our maybe room. Come upstairs." I was downstairs when I heard her heels on the stairs. The pause outside the door. The creak as it opened. Then her laughter. Not soft. Not touched. Not moved. Sharp. Barking. Followed by a voice I hadn't heard in our house in weeks. Her sister, Megan. "Oh my God." Megan laughed. "You actually did it." Then another voice, her mom's. "I told you he would. This is just sad." I walked upstairs slowly. My heart wasn't racing. It was something worse. Something slow and sinking. Callie was standing in the middle of the nursery, one hand covering her mouth, the other holding the card. Megan was filming with her phone. Her mom sat on the window seat, sipping from a travel mug that said "Hot Moms Vote Blue." "You really thought we were keeping the baby?" Callie asked, turning toward me. Her tone was breezy, detached. "This is hilarious. I mean, really?" Megan giggled. "It's giving Hallmark movie, but like, Sad Dad edition." Her mom actually clapped. "He even did the mobile." I didn't say anything. Not yet. Callie was still smiling. "You're sweet, but we're not keeping it. I already scheduled the termination for next week. We just hadn't figured out how to tell you. Honestly, this kind of makes it easier." I remember staring at her and realizing something horrifying. She wasn't trying to hurt me. She thought she was being kind. "Why?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Oh, come on, Liam," she said. "You think this life is sustainable? You fixing cabinets for old ladies and us raising a baby in this house? It's a joke." "You could have told me," I said. "I did," she replied. "You just didn't want to hear it." Megan turned her phone to landscape mode. "Say something. This is going to get so many likes." Callie rolled her eyes. "Put the phone away." I looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time I didn't recognize the woman standing in that nursery. So I smiled. That soft, quiet kind that doesn't reach your eyes. "I'm glad you all came," I said. Then I walked back downstairs, opened the drawer by the garage, and pulled out the manila envelope I'd hidden 3 weeks earlier. Prenuptial agreement. Signed. Notarized. Filed under Ohio's marital abandonment clause, which I'd already started preparing for. That nursery wasn't a surprise. It was evidence. That was 6 weeks ago. This morning, Callie was screaming outside the county courthouse. Hair wild. Mascara dripping. Megan holding her by the shoulders and yelling something about rights. Her mom was on the phone with someone, demanding answers, demanding a reversal. I had 38 missed calls from Callie. I didn't answer any of them, because the judge had already seen the texts I printed, the footage from the nursery, the receipts for her travel, the copy of the abortion consult she never meant for me to find. I walked out of that courtroom free, and she walked out with nothing but her family's applause. Edit 1. A few of you asked how I had proof. Ohio law recognizes anticipatory abandonment. She told people, via text and DM, that she was keeping the pregnancy secret for leverage. I didn't even know we were pregnant until I overheard her on a call in November. I was already documenting by then. The nursery was my way of locking in her narrative, while showing the court mine. Edit 2. Yes, I am pursuing full custody of any child if she changes her mind. But the clinic confirmed the termination already occurred. What she didn't realize is that I froze our joint account the same morning she scheduled the appointment. I wasn't allowed a voice in the outcome, but I refused to fund it. Update 1. It's been 42 days since the nursery, 41 days since I froze our accounts, 38 days since I moved into my brother's guest house and installed cameras around the perimeter, and 5 days since Callie's lawyer called mine and asked, "Is your client willing to reconsider reconciliation?" I laughed when I heard that, laughed so hard I had to sit down. Because here's the thing Callie never understood about me. I may move slow, but I don't move backward. Let's rewind. The morning after the courtroom hearing, I sent 3 emails. To our mortgage lender, removing Callie's access to the payment portal. To my HR rep, formally changing my emergency contact. To our local pregnancy center, confirming I would no longer be a sponsor for their Partners in Parenthood initiative, because I'd been donating monthly, under her name. She always liked the credit. Now she can keep it. And the questions. I stayed quiet the first few weeks. Everyone assumed I was shattered. And I was. But I wasn't still. While Callie and her family tried to spin the story, first privately, then socially, I stayed silent. Which, as it turns out, was smarter than any post I could have made. Because they started talking. Mutual friends started asking questions. One of her old coworkers, Lindsay, messaged me on Facebook. "Hey, I don't want to get involved, but Callie told us you pressured her into pregnancy and were emotionally unstable. But then Megan posted a video of the nursery? I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. That's not what we saw." Turns out Megan accidentally posted a 10-second story of the nursery reveal. Callie laughing, the bow still on the doorknob, me standing there like a ghost. She deleted it a few hours later. Too late. Screenshots exist. And so do witness statements. 2 of her own friends have now signed affidavits for my attorney. One of them, Katie, admitted under oath that Callie had been planning to scare me into leaving for months. That she'd floated the phrase emotional abandonment back in September. That the whole nursery thing was a test. A test. Meanwhile, her family? They've gone from clapping in the nursery to clawing at each other. Apparently Megan's video went semi-viral on a mom-shaming subreddit. Not because of Callie's choice, but because of the way she celebrated it. The performative cruelty, the laughter, the champagne. Megan's influencer deals? Paused. Their mom? Had to step down from the school board in their district after a parent emailed the clip anonymously. And Callie? She finally reached out directly. The text came at 2:14 a.m. 2 nights ago. "You're ruining everything. I never wanted it to be like this." I didn't respond. She followed up with, "If you ever loved me, please stop." Still nothing. And then, finally, "I miss you." That was the one that made me angry. Not the cruelty. Not the gaslighting. The entitlement. She doesn't miss me. She misses control. She misses the version of me who built a nursery with hand-painted mushrooms and thought that would be enough. She misses the man she thought would stay quiet. She has no idea who I became. Fallout highlights. Legal. My attorney has filed for post-separation asset division. Because I'd been documenting long before the reveal, we have receipts for everything. She took out a private loan in both our names. I reported it. That's fraud. Financial. She used our joint card for reproductive consultation. That's her right, but not with shared funds. The bank sided with me, reversed the charges. She now owes over $9,000 and has no access to our accounts. Public. Someone uploaded the nursery footage to TikTok. It's been viewed over 800K times. The caption? When you build a dream for someone who was never dreaming with you, I didn't post it. I still won't. But it's out there now. And so is the truth. Where I am now. Still staying with my brother, still quiet, still breathing. I started therapy 2 weeks ago. Not for her. For the version of me I buried beneath floorboards and hand-sanded trim. We'd picked out a name. For the baby. She didn't know that. I never told her. It was Rowan. Gender neutral. Strong. A little wild. Like the tree. I said goodbye to that name last night. I whispered it to an empty room and let the silence answer me back. Because I'm done chasing ghosts. Next. Callie has a court date in 11 days for the fraud inquiry. She thinks it'll be a slap on the wrist. But the loan was under my name. And she forged my signature. There's a limit to how much sympathy a judge will offer when you've weaponized a pregnancy, filmed your husband's heartbreak, and laughed while doing it. And she's about to learn that. I'll update after the hearing. Update 2. You all wanted an update after the hearing. Here it is. But this one, it's different. Because it's not about revenge anymore. It's about Rowan. The court date was last Thursday. Callie was 17 minutes late. Sunglasses on indoors. Megan trailing behind her like some half-deflated PR manager. Her attorney looked like she hadn't been paid in weeks. And judging by the bank statements my lawyer submitted, she hadn't. The fraud case went fast. The judge didn't mince words. Forging a partner's signature on a private medical loan is illegal. Full stop. The loan was voided. Her credit? Tanked. She tried to argue it was a desperate act during emotional distress. The judge just said, "That's what therapy is for. Not wire fraud." Callie didn't say a word to me, wouldn't look at me, but then her lawyer pulled mine aside before we left the courthouse. "She'd like to discuss a private family matter," he said. I should have walked away, but I stayed. We stepped into a side room, neutral ground. She sat with her arms crossed, lips pressed tight like she was holding in venom. "I'm not going through with the termination," she said flatly. I froze. "She changed her mind 2 weeks ago," her lawyer added. "Didn't tell anyone." Callie didn't flinch. "It's not because of you, or the baby. It's because I can't afford it. And because Megan said it would look bad online. So there it was. Not a change of heart. A change of optics. But I'm not keeping it," she continued. "I already contacted a private placement agency. They said they could match me with a family within a month." "You're giving the baby up?" I asked. She nodded. "I want it over with. I don't want a kid. I never did." That moment cracked something open in me that I didn't even know was still intact. Because I did. I do. I want this child. My child. Rowan. That night I called my lawyer again. We filed an emergency motion for pre-birth custodial interest. It's rare, but in Ohio you can establish intent to parent before birth if one party has already expressed intent to abandon. We had everything. Her emails to the adoption agency. The original abortion consult. Her on-record courtroom admission. The text where she called the baby just a loose end. The judge scheduled a hearing. 3 days from now. Here's the twist I didn't expect. The agency she contacted? They're a Christian placement network based 2 counties over. When they found out the father was not only alive but pursuing custody, and that the mother never disclosed this, they pulled their offer. The couple she'd matched with? They called me. They were kind. Older. 2 boys already. They said, "We want the baby to go where they'll be loved. And it sounds like that's with you." They sent me prayers. I sent them the photo of the nursery. Where things stand now, Callie still wants out. She's made that clear. But now that I'm pursuing custody, she's reviewing her options. Translation. She's hoping to weaponize the child for leverage. Probably thinks she can barter for financial protection. Her family is divided. Megan has gone silent. Their mother actually called me, for the first time in 7 weeks, to ask what your long-term intentions are. I said, "To be a father." She hung up. The nursery is locked. I haven't stepped inside since the day she laughed in it. But I added one thing, a nameplate on the door. Rowan. Not maybe, not someday. Now, tomorrow is the hearing. If it goes my way, I'll have full custodial rights pre-birth. Which means the moment Rowan is born, I'll be there. Legal guardian. Sole provider. If it doesn't, Callie gets to disappear, and my child becomes paperwork in a system. But I'm not walking away. Not again. This isn't about pride anymore, or heartbreak, or proving anything to anyone. It's about a baby who didn't ask to be a pawn in someone's power game. It's about showing Rowan that someone chose them before they were even born. Edit 1. For those asking about Callie's health, yes, the pregnancy is healthy. She's in her second trimester. No complications so far. I check through the court-ordered OB reports. She's taking care of herself. Just not planning to be involved afterward. Edit 2. I've already filed the paperwork for single-parent preparation. Pediatrician consults, state-certified parenting courses, newborn CPR training. I have a bassinet in the corner of my room now. Every night I sit next to it and just breathe. Edit 3. Her family is starting to panic. Because they realized something this week. If I get full custody, they never see Rowan. Ever. And I think, for the first time, they're realizing they made a mistake. Permanent 1. Update 3. Rowan was born on a gray Wednesday. No lightning bolt. No movie moment sunshine breaking through clouds. Just a dull Ohio sky and the hum of fluorescent hospital lights in the delivery wing. I wasn't in the room when he was born. Callie made sure of that. Even after the judge granted me full custodial rights upon birth, she refused to acknowledge it. Refused to let me near her. Said I made her uncomfortable. Said I was a presence that triggered stress. Her lawyer tried to argue I was emotionally manipulating the process by wanting to be a father. The judge shut that down fast. But not fast enough to get me into the room. I was in the waiting area, pacing beside a vending machine, when a nurse stepped out with a clipboard and said, "Mr. Whitaker, you have a son." Just like that. Rowan. 7 pounds, 1 ounce. A tuft of auburn hair. Quiet. Alert. The nurse said he blinked like he'd seen all this before. I broke right there in the hallway. Fell to my knees. Didn't care who saw. They let me hold him an hour later. Swaddled. Warm. He looked up at me like he was waiting. Like he already knew me. I thought that was the end of the storm. But storms don't end that quietly. Not this one. The twist came 2 days later. We were discharged, Rowan and I. I took him home. Not to my brother's guest house, to my house. The one with the nursery. The one I'd finished sanding the week before. The mobile with the foxes still spun slowly when we walked in. Callie hadn't seen the place in months. She never would again. Or so I thought. On the third morning, I got a certified letter from her attorney. Callie was filing for visitation. Not custody. Not co-parenting. Just enough to be legally present. Why? The same question echoed in my head. She hadn't wanted this child. Had laughed at him before he was born. Had tried to erase me from the equation entirely. So why now? The answer came 48 hours later. I got a call from Dale, a real estate agent I'd worked with once before. He was breathless. "Liam, listen. I just got off the phone with a woman claiming to be Rowan's mother. Said she's the biological parent and wants to liquidate a family property in his name to cover a medical expense. She used your son's name, man." I froze. "Did she use the word trust?" I asked. He paused. Yeah, actually. She said Rowan has a trust, a deferred settlement payout or something. Big money. From your side." I felt the bottom drop out. She knew. Somehow she found the trust. Rewind 5 years. My grandmother left me a small inheritance. Not a fortune, but she was wise with land and oil leases in western Pennsylvania. Set up a trust for future descendants. Deferred until they turn 18. It doesn't activate unless there's a direct bloodline. Callie had never known about it. Until recently, I pulled the access logs from my family's legal vault. 2 weeks before the hearing, someone logged in using my father's old tablet. Guess who had borrowed it for work back in February? That's why she kept the baby. Not guilt. Not fear. Not some late-blooming maternal instinct. Money. She realized that by giving birth, by tethering herself biologically, she could gain indirect access to the estate. Not directly, but through parental rights, she could file to represent Rowan's financial interests. She never wanted to be his mother. She wanted to be his manager. And now she was filing for legal visitation not because she wanted to see him, but because it gave her standing. My lawyer had already seen this play out before. Called it a proximity scheme. Stay close enough to the money. Use the title mother, even if you never changed a diaper. So I made a choice. I filed a motion to terminate her parental rights. Grounds? Emotional abandonment. Perjury. Documented fraud. Intent to exploit trust assets. And the kicker? A sworn statement from her own sister Megan, who finally cracked. Megan came forward last Friday. She admitted everything. Said Callie had planned it months ago. Keep the baby, secure financial leverage, use the optics of motherhood to rebuild her social brand. She wanted to launch a parenting podcast, Megan told us. Was gonna call it Mother, maybe? Ironic. I didn't know whether to scream or laugh, so I just wrote it down. For the court, the hearing was today. Callie showed up in a designer coat and fake tears. Brought her mother, who sat with sunglasses on and whispered prayers like it was a funeral. Rowan slept on my chest the whole time. My lawyer laid out the evidence. Emails, access logs, the testimony, the trust policy. Her earlier text saying, "I want it over with," timed against the moment she logged in to the trust file. Then came the judge's verdict. Ms. Reynolds, your actions reflect not a lapse in judgment but a pattern of malicious intent. This court finds grounds to revoke your parental rights effective immediately. Callie didn't cry. She screamed, loud enough to wake Rowan, loud enough to make the clerk flinch, loud enough to finally break the illusion she'd been performing under for months. Security escorted her out. She looked at me over her shoulder, eyes burning. "You think you've won?" she hissed. I didn't answer. I just held Rowan a little tighter. And that's it. Rowan is mine. Legally. Fully. Callie can never file again. No appeals. No loopholes. She lost the game she built. She gave up her child for a trust she'll never touch. And I didn't win. There's no winning here. There's only surviving. There's only rebuilding. There's only Rowan. And every day, I look at him and think, you were born into fire, but you're going to grow in light.